Leviticus 1. When the Lord summoned Moses and spoke to him from the tent of meeting, speak to the Israelites and tell them, when any of you bring an offering to the Lord from the livestock, you may bring your offering from the herd or the flock. If his offering is a burnt offering from the herd, he is to bring an unblemished male. He will bring to the entrance to the tent of meeting, so that he may be accepted by the Lord. He is to lay his hand on the head of the burnt offering, so it can be accepted on his behalf, to make atonement for him. He is to slaughter the bull before the Lord. Aaron's son and the priest are to present the blood and splatter it on all the sides of the altar. That is the entrance of the tent of meeting. Then he is to skin the burnt offering and cut it into pieces. The son of Aaron, the priests, will prepare a fire on the altar and arrange wood on the fire. Aaron's sons, the priests, are to arrange the pieces, the head and the fat on top of the burning wood on the altar. The offering is to wash the entrails and legs with water. Then the priest will burn all of it onto the altar as burnt offering, a food offering, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. But if his offering for a burnt offering is from the flock, from the sheep or goats, he is to present an unblemished male. He will slaughter it on the north side of the altar before the Lord. Aaron's son priest will splatter its blood against the altar on all sides. He will cut the animal into pieces with its head and its fat, and the priests will arrange them on top of the burning wood on the altar. But he is to wash the entrails and legs with water. The priest will present all of it and burn it on the altar. It is a burnt offering, a food offering, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. If his offering to the Lord is a burnt offering of birds, he is to present his offering from the turtle-dove of young pigeons. Then the priest is to bring it to the altar and will twist off its head and burn it on the altar. Its blood should be drained at the side of the altar. He will remove its digestive tract, cutting off the tail feathers and throwing it out on the east side of the altar at the place for ashes. He will tear it open by its wings without dividing the bird. Then the priest is to burn it on the altar on top of the burning wood. It is a burning offer, a food offering, a pleasing aroma to the Lord.
Leviticus 2. When anyone presents a grain offering as an offering to the Lord, it is to consist it of fine flour. He is to pour olive oil on it, pour frankincense on it, and bring it to Aaron's son, the priest. The priest will take a handful of fine flour and oil from it, along with all its frankincense, and will burn this memorial portion of it on the altar. the food offering a pleasure aroma of the Lord, but the rest of the grain offering will belong to Aaron and his sons. It is the holiest part of the food offering to the Lord. When you present a grain of earing baked in an oven, it is to be made by fine flour, either unleavened cake mixed with oil or unleavened wafers coated with oil. If your offering is a grain of earing prepared on a griddle, it is to be unleavened bread made of fine flour mixed with oil. Break it into pieces and pour oil on it. It is a grain offering. If your offering is a grain offering prepared in a pan, it is to be made in fine flour with oil. When you bring it to the Lord, the grain offering made in any of these ways, it is to be presented to the priest, and he will take it to the altar. The priest will remove the memorial portion from the grain offering and burn it on the altar, a food offering and a pleasing aroma to the Lord. But the rest of the grain offering will belong to Aaron and his sons. It is the holiest part of the food offering to the Lord. No grain offering that you present to the Lord is to be made with yeast, for you are not to burn any yeast or honey as a food offering to the Lord. You may present to the Lord as an offering of first fruits, but they are not to be offered to the altar as a pleasing aroma. You are to season each of your grain offering with salt. You must not omit from your grain offering the salt of the covenant with your God. You are to present salt with each of your offerings. If you present a grain offering of first fruits to the Lord, you are to present fresh heads of grain crushed, kernels roasted on the fire for your grain offering of first fruits. You are to put oil and frankincense on it. It is a grain of fearing. The priest will burn them, then some of it is crushed, kernels and oil with all its frankincense as a food offering to the Lord. Leviticus 3. If his offering is a fellowship sacrifice and he is presenting an animal from the herd, whether male or female, he is to present one without blemish before the Lord. He is to lay his hand on the head of his offering and slaughter it at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Then Aaron's sons, the priest, will spatter the blood all over of the altar, also at the altar. He will present part of the fellowship sacrifice as a food offering to the Lord, a fat surrounding the entrails, all the fat that is on the entrail, and the 2 kidneys with the fat on them at the lion. He will also remove the fatty lobe of the liver with the kidneys. Aaron's sons will burn it in the altar along with the burnt offering that is on the burning wood, a food offering of pleasing aroma to the Lord. If he is offering as a fellowship sacrifice to the Lord is from the flock, he is to present a male and female without blemish. If he presents a lamb for his offering, he is to present it to the Lord. He must lay its hand on the head of its offering, then slaughter it before the tent of meeting. Aaron's sons will spatter its blood on the side of the altar. He will then present the part of the fellowship sacrifice as a food offering of the Lord, consistence of the fat and the entire fat tail, which he is to remove close to the backbone. He will also remove the fat surrounding the entrail, all the fat on the entrails, the 2 kidneys with the fat on them at the loins, and the fatty lobe of the liver above the kidney. Then the priests will burn the food of the altar as a food offering to the Lord. If his offering is a goat, he will be presenting it before the Lord. He must lay his hand on its head and slaughter it before the tent of meeting. Aaron's son must splatter its blood on the side of the altar. He will present part of his offering as a food offering to the Lord. The fat surrounding the entrails, all the fat that is on the entrails, and the 2 kidneys with the fat on them at the loins. He will also remove the fatty lobe of the liver with the kidneys. Then the priests will burn the food on the altar as a food offering for the pleasing aroma. All fat belongs to the Lord. This is a permanent statute throughout your generations. So wherever you live, you must not eat any fat or any blood.
Leviticus 4. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, "Tell the Israelites, when someone sins unintentionally against any of the Lord's commands and does anything prohibited by them, the anointed priest's sins bring guilt on the people. He is to present to the Lord a young, unblemished bull as a sin offering. For the sin he has committed, he is to bring the bull to the entrance to the tent of meeting before the Lord. Lay his hand on the bull's head and slaughter it before the Lord. The anointed priest will then take some of the bull's blood and bring it into the tent of meeting. The priest is to dip his fingers in the blood and sprinkle some of the 7 times before the Lord, some in front of the curtain of the sanctuary. The priest is to apply some of the fragrant incense that is from the Lord in the tent of meeting. He must pour out the rest of the bull's blood and base all in the altar of burning offerings that is at the entrance to the tent of meeting. He is to remove all the fat from the bull of the sin offering, the fat surrounding the entrance, all the fat that is on the entrails, and 2 kidneys with the fat on them at loins. He will also remove the fatty lobe of the liver with the kidneys, just as the fat is removed from the ox of the fellowship sacrifice. The priest is to burn them onto the altar, the bull and all its flesh, altar of burning offerings, but the hide of the bull and all its flesh, with its head and legs and its entrails and waist, all the rest of the bull, he must bring to the ceremonially clean place outside the camp, to the ash heap, and must burn it on the wood fire. It is to be burned at the ash heap. Now, if the whole community of Israel errs, and the matters escapes and notice of the assembly, so that they violate any of the Lord's command and incur guilt by doing what is prohibited, then the assembly must present a young bull as a sin offering. They are to bring it before the tent of meeting when the sin they have committed in regard to the command becomes known. The elders of the community are to lay their hand on the bull's head before the Lord, and it's to slaughter it before the Lord. The anointed priest will bring some of the bull's blood into the tent of meeting. The priest is to dip his fingers on the blood and sprinkle it 7 times before the Lord in front of the curtain. He is to apply some of the blood to the horns of the altar, that is, before the Lord. In the tent of meeting, he will pour out the rest of the blood at the base of the altar, a burnt offering, that is, at the entrance to the tent of meeting. He is to remove all the fat from it and burn it on the altar. He is to offer this bull just as he did with the bull in the sin offering. He will offer the same way, so the priest will make atonement on their behalf, and they will be forgiven. Then he will bring the bull outside the camp and burn it just as he burnt the first bull. It is the sin offering for the assembly. When a leader sins and unintentionally violates any of the Lord's command, his God, by doing what is prohibited, and incurs guilt, or someone informs him about the sin he has committed, he is to bring an unblemished male goat as his offering. He is to lay his hand on the head of the goat and slaughter it at the place where the burnt offering is slaughtered, before the Lord. It is a sin offering. Then the priest is to take some of the blood from the sin offering with his fingers and apply it to the horns of the altar of burnt offerings. The rest of its blood he is to pour out at the base of the altar of burning offerings. He must burn all its fat on the altar, like the fat of the fellowship sacrifice. In this way the priests will make atonement on his behalf for that person's sin, and he will be forgiven. Now, if any of the common people sins intentionally by violating one of the Lord's commands, does what is prohibited, and incurs guilt, or if someone informs him about the sin he has committed, then he is to bring an unblemished female goat as his offering for the sin that he has committed. He is to lay his hand on the head of the sin offering and slaughter it at the place of the burnt offering. Then the priest is to take some of its blood with his finger and apply it to the horns of the altar of burnt offerings. He is to pour out the rest of its blood at the base of the altar. He is to remove all of its fat, just as the fat is removed from the fellowship sacrifice. The priest is to burn it on the altar as a pleasing aroma to the Lord. In this way, the priest will make atonement on his behalf, and he will be forgiven. Or if the offering that he brings as a sin offering is a lamb, he is to bring an unblemished female. He is to lay his hand on the head of the sin offering and slaughter it as a sin offering for the place where the burnt offering is slaughtered. Then the priest is to make some of the blood of the sin offering with his finger and apply it to the horn of the altar of burnt offerings. He is to pour out the rest of its blood on the base of the altar. He is to remove all its fat, just as the fat of the lamb is removed from the fellowship sacrifice. The priest will burn it on the altar along with the food offering to the Lord. In this way, the priest will make atonement on his behalf for the sin he has committed, and he will be forgiven.
Leviticus 5. When someone sins in any of these ways, if he has heard or known about something he has witnessed, he did not respond to public call to testify, he will bear his iniquity. Or if someone touches anything unclean, a carcass of an unclean wild animal or unclean livestock or an unclean swarming creature, without being aware of it, he is unclean and incurs guilt. Or if he touches human uncleanness, any uncleanness by which one can become defiled without being aware of it, but later recognizes it, he incurs guilt. Or if someone swears rashly to do what is good or evil concerning anything, a person may speak rashly in an oath without being aware of it, but later recognize it, he incurs guilt. In such an instance, if someone incurs guilt in one of these cases, he is to confess he has committed that sin. He must bring his penalty for guilt for the Lord, for the sin he has committed to the Lord. A female lamb or goat from the flock as a sin offering. In this way, the priest will make an atonement of his behalf or his sin. But if he cannot afford an animal from the flock, then he may bring the Lord 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons as a penalty for guilt for his sin, one as a sin offering and the other as a burnt offering. He is to bring them to the priest, who will first present the one for the sin offering. He is to twist its head at the back of the neck without serving it. Then he will sprinkle some of the blood of the sin offering on the side of the altar, while the rest of the blood is to be drained out at the base of the altar. It is a sin offering. He will prepare a second bird as a burnt offering according to the regulations. In this way, The priest will make atonement on his behalf for the sin he has committed, and he will be forgiven. But if he cannot afford 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, he may bring 2 quarts of fine flour as an offering for his sin. He must not put olive oil or frankincense on it, for it is a sin offering. He is to bring it to the priest, who will take a handful from it as its memorial portion and burn it on the altar along with the food offering to the Lord. It is a sin offering. In this way, the priest will make announcement on his behalf concerning the sin he has committed in any of these cases, and he will be forgiven. The rest will belong to the priest like the grain offering. Then the Lord spoke to Moses. If someone offended by sinning unintentionally in regard to any of the Lord's holy things, he must bring his penalty for guilt to the Lord, an unblemished ram from the flock based on your assessment of its value in silver shekels, according to the secretary shekel, as a guilt offering. He is to make registration for his sin regarding unholy things, adding a fifth of its value to it, and give it to the priest. Then the priest will make atonement on its behalf with the ram of the guilt offering and will be forgiven. If someone sins and without knowing it violates any of the Lord's commands concerning anything prohibited, he is guilty, and he will bear his iniquity. He must bring an unblemished ram from the flock according to the assessment of its value as a guilt offering to the priest. Then the priest will make announcement on his behalf for the error he has committed unintentionally, and he will be forgiven. It's a guilt offering. He is indeed guilty before the Lord.
Leviticus 6. The Lord spoke to Moses. When someone sins and offends the Lord by deceiving his neighbor in regard to a deposit, a security, or a robbery, or defrauds his neighbor, or finds something lost and lies about it, or swears falsely about any of the sinful things a person may do once he has sinned and acknowledged his guilt, he must return what he stole or defraud, or the deposit entrusted to him, or the lost item he found, or anything else about which he swore falsely. You will make full restitution for it and add a fifth of its value to it. He is to pay it to its owner on the day he acknowledged his offering to the Lord, an unblemished ram from the flock according to your assignment of its value as a guilt offering to the priest. In this way the priest will make anointment on his behalf before the Lord, and he will be forgiven for anything he may have done to incur guilt. The Lord spoke to Moses. Command Aaron and his sons, this is the law of the burnt offering. The burnt offering itself must remain on the altar hearth all night until morning, while the fire of the altar is kept burning on it. The priest is to put on his lined robe and linen undergarment. He is to remove the ashes of the burnt offering the fire has consumed on the altar, and place them beside the altar. Then he will shake off his garment, put on other clothes, and bring the ashes outside the camp to ceremonially clean place. The fire in the altar is to be kept running. It must not go out every morning, and the priest will burn wood on the fire. He is to arrange the burnt offering on the fire and burn the fat proportions from the fellowship offerings on it. Fire must be kept burning on the altar continually. It must not go out. Now this is the law of the grain offering. Aaron's son will present it before the Lord in front of the altar. The priest is to remove a handful of fine flour and olive oil from the grain offering with all the frankincense that is on the offering, and burn its memorial portion on the altar as a pleasing aroma to the Lord. Aaron and his sons may eat the rest of it. It is to be eaten in the form of unleavened bread in a holy place. They are to eat it in the courtyard of the tent of meeting. It must not be baked with yeast. I have assigned it as their proportion from my food offering. It is especially holy, like the sin offering and the guilt offering. Any male among Aaron's descendants may eat it. It is a permanent portion throughout your generations, from the food offering to the Lord. Anything that touches the offering will become holy. The Lord spoke to Moses, "This is the offering that Aaron and his sons are to present to the Lord on the day that he is anointed. 2 quarts of fine flour as a regular grain offering, half of it in the morning and half of the evening. It is to be prepared with oil and griddle. You are to bring it well kneaded. You are to present it and grain offerings or baked pieces, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. The priest who is one of Aaron's sons and will be anointed to make his place is to prepare it and must be completely burnt as a permanent portion of the Lord. Every grain offering for a priest will be a whole burnt offering. It is not to be eaten. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Tell Aaron and his sons, this is the law of the sin offering. The sin offering is most holy and must be slaughtered before the Lord at the place where the burnt offering is slaughtered. The priest who offers it as a sin offering will eat it. It is to be in a holy place in the courtyard of the tent of meeting. Anything that touches its flesh will become holy, and if any of its blood splatter on the garment, then you must wash that garment in a holy place. A clay pot in which the sin offering is boiled is to be broken. If it is boiled in a bronze vessel, it is to be scoured and rinsed with water. Any male among the priests may eat it. It is especially holy, but no sin of fearing may be eaten. If its blood has been brought unto the tent of meeting to make an ointment in the holy place, it must be burnt.
Leviticus 7. Now, this is the law of the guilt offering. It is especially holy. The guilt offering is to be slaughtered at the place where the burnt offering is slaughtered, and the priest is to splatter its blood on all sides of the altar. The offerer is to present all the fat from it, the fat tail, the fat surrounding the entrails, and the 2 kidneys with the fat on them at the loins. He will also remove the fatty lobe of the liver with the kidneys. The priest will burn them on the altar as a good offering to the Lord. It is a guilt offering. Any male among the priests may eat it. It is to be eaten in a holy place. It is especially holy. The guilt offering is like the sin offering. The law is the same for both. It belongs to the priest who makes atonement with it. As for the priest who presents someone's burnt offering, the hide of the burnt offering he has presented belongs to him. It is the priest's. Any grain offering that is baked in an oven or prepared in a pan or a griddle belongs to the priest who presents it. It is his. But any grain offering, whether dry or mixed with oil, belongs equally to all of Aaron's sons. Now, this is the way the law of the fellowship sacrifice that someone might present to the Lord. If he presents it for thanksgiving, in addition to the thanksgiving sacrifice, he is to present unleavened cakes mixed with olive oil, unleavened wafer coated with oil, and well kneaded cakes of fine flour mixed with oil. He is to present as his offering cakes of leavened bread with this thanksgiving sacrifice of fellowship. From the cakes he is to present one portion of each offering as a contribution to the Lord. It will belong to the priest who splatters the blood of the fellowship offering. It is his. The meat of his thanksgiving sacrifice of fellowship must be eaten on the day he offers it. He may not leave any of it until morning. If the sacrifice he offers is a vow or a freewill offering, it is to be eaten on the day he presents the sacrifice, and what is left over might be eaten on the next day. But what remains of the sacrifice meat by the 3rd day must be burned. If any of the meat of his fellowship sacrifice is eaten on the 3rd day, it will not be accepted. It will not be credited to the one who presents it. It is repulsive. The person who eats any of it will bear his iniquity. Meat that touches anything unclean must not be eaten. It is to be burned. Anyone who is clean might eat any other meat. But the one who eats meat from the Lord's fellowship sacrifice while he is unclean, that person must be cut off from his people. If anyone touches anything unclean, whether human, uncleanness, or unclean animal, or any unclean, unhormoned creature, and eats meat from the Lord's fellowship sacrifice, that person is to be cut off from his people. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Tell the Israelites, you are not to eat any fat of an ox, a sheep, or a goat. The fat of an animal that dies naturally or is mauled by wild beasts might be used for any other purpose, but you must not eat it. If anyone eats animal fat from a food offering presented to the Lord, that person who eats it is to be cut off from his people. Wherever you live, you must not eat the blood of any bird or animal. Whoever eats any blood is to be cut off from his people." The Lord spoke to Moses, "Tell the Israelites, the one who presents a fellowship sacrifice to the Lord is to bring an offering to the Lord from his sacrifice. His own hands will bring the food offering to the Lord. He will bring the fat together with the breast. The breast is to be presented as a presentation offering before the Lord. The priest is to burn the fat on the altar, but the breasts belong to Aaron and his son. You are to give the right tithe to the priest as a contribution from your fellowship sacrifices. The son of Aaron, who presents the blood of the fellowship offering and the fat, will have the right tithe as a portion. I have taken from the Israelites the breasts of the presentation offering and the tithe of the contribution from their fellowship sacrifice, and have assigned them to the priest Aaron and to his sons as a permanent portion from the Israelites. This is the portion from the food offering to the Lord for Aaron and his sons, since the day they were presented to serve the Lord as priests. The Lord commanded this to be given to them by the Israelites on the day he anointed them. It is a permanent portion through their generations. This is the law for the burnt offering, the grain offering, the sin offering, the guilt offering, the ordination offering, and the fellowship sacrifice, which the Lord commanded Moses on Mount Sinai on the day he commanded the Israelites to present their offering to the Lord in the wilderness of Sinai.
Leviticus chapter 8. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Take Aaron, his sons, with him the garments, the anointing oil, the bowl of the sin offering, the 2 rams, and the basket of unleavened bread, and assemble the whole community at the entrance to the tent of meeting." So Moses did as the Lord commanded him, and the community assembled at the entrance to the tent of meeting. Moses said to them, "This is what the Lord has commanded to be done." Then Moses presented Aaron and his sons and washed them with water. He put the tunic on Aaron, wrapped the sash around him, clothed him with the robe, and put the ephod on him. He put the woven band of the ephod around him and fastened it to him. Then he put the breastpiece on him and placed the Urim and Thummim into the breastpiece. He also put the turban on his head and placed the gold medal, the holy diadem, on the front of the turban, as the Lord had commanded Moses. Then Moses took the anointing oil and anointed the tabernacle and everything in it to consecrate them. He sprinkled some of the oil on the altar 7 times, anointing the altar with all its utensils, and the basin with its stand to consecrate them. He poured some of the anointing oil on Aaron's head and anointed and consecrated him. Then Moses presented Aaron's son, clothed them with tunics, wrapped sashes around them, and fastened headbands on them, as the Lord had commanded Moses. Then he brought the bull near for the sin offering, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands on the head of the bull for the sin offering. Then Moses slaughtered it, took the blood and applied it with his finger to the horns of the altar on all sides, purifying the altar. He poured out the blood at the base of the altar and consecrated it so that atonement can be made on it. Moses took all the fat that was on the entrails, the fatty lobe with the liver, and the 2 kidneys with their fat, and he burned them on the altar. He burned the bull with its hide, flesh, and waste outside the camp, as the Lord had commanded Moses. Then he presented the ram for the burnt offering, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands on the head of the ram. Moses slaughtered it and splattered blood on all sides of the altar. Moses cut the ram into pieces and burned the head, the pieces, and the fat, but he washed the entrails and legs with water. Then burned the entire ram on the altar. It was a burnt offering for a pleasing aroma, a food offering to the Lord as he had commanded Moses. Next he presented the second ram, the ram of ordination, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands on the head of the ram. Moses slaughtered it, took some of its blood and put it on Aaron's right earlobe, on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot. Moses also presented Aaron's sons and put some of the blood on their right earlobe, on their thumbs of their right hands, and on the big toes of their right feet. Then Moses splattered the blood on all sides of the altar. He took the fat tail, all the fat that was on the entrails, the fatty lobe of the liver, and the 2 kidneys with their fat, as well as the right thigh. From the basket of unleavened bread that was before the Lord, he took 1 cake of unleavened bread, 1 cake of bread made with oil, and 1 wafer, and placed them on the fat portions and the right thigh. He put all these in the hands of Aaron and his sons and presented them before the Lord as a presentation offering. Then Moses took them from their hand and burned them on the altar with the burnt offering. This is an ordination offering for a pleasing aroma, a food offering to the Lord. He also took the breast and presented it before the Lord as a presentation offering. It was Moses' portion of the ordination ram as the Lord had commanded him. Then Moses took some of the anointing oil and some of the blood that was on the altar and sprinkled them on Aaron and his garments, as well as on his sons and their garments. In this way he consecrated Aaron and his garments, as well as his sons and their garments. Moses said to Aaron and his sons, "Boil the meat at the entrance to the tent of meeting and eat it there with the bread that is in the basket for the ordination offering as I commanded. Aaron and his sons are to eat it. Burn up whatever remains of the meat and bread. Do not go outside the entrance to the tent of meeting for 7 days, until the time your day of ordination are completed, because it will take 7 days to ordain you. The Lord commanded what has been done today in order to make atonement for you. You must remain in the entrance to the tent of meeting day and night for 7 days, and keep the Lord's charge so that you will not die. For this is what I commanded you." So Aaron and his sons did everything the Lord had commanded through Moses.
Leviticus 9. On the 8th day, Moses summoned Aaron, his sons, and the elder of Israel. He said to Aaron, "Take a young bull for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering, both without blemish, and present them before the Lord. And tell the Israelites, take a male goat for a sin offering, a calf and a lamb, male, yearling without blemish, for a burnt offering, an ox and a ram for a fellowship offering to sacrifice before the Lord, and a grain offering mixed with oil. For today the Lord is going to appeal to you." They brought what Moses had commanded to the front of the tent of meeting. And the whole community came towards and stood before the Lord. Moses said, "This is what the Lord commanded you to do, that the glory of the Lord may appear to you." Then Moses said to Aaron, "Approach the altar and sacrifice your sin offering and your burnt offering. Make atonement for yourself and the people. Sacrifice the people's offering and make an atonement for them, as the Lord commanded." So Aaron approached the altar and slaughtered the calf as sin offering for himself. Aaron's son brought the blood to him, and he dipped his finger in the blood and applied it to the horns of the altar. He poured out the blood at the base of the altar. He burned the fat, the kidneys, and the fat lobe of the liver from the sin offering on the altar, and as the Lord had commanded Moses. He burned the flesh and the hide outside the camp. Then he slaughtered the burnt offering. Aaron's son brought him the blood, and he splattered it on all sides of the altar. They brought him the burnt offering piece by piece, along with the head, and he burned them on the altar. He washed the entrails and the legs and burned them with the burnt offering on the altar. Aaron presented the people's offering. He took the male goat for people's sin offering. He slaughtered it and made a sin offering with it, as he did before. He presented the burnt offering and sacrificed it according to the regulation. Next, he presented the grain offering, took a handful of it, and burned it on the altar in addition to the morning burnt offering. Finally, he slaughtered the ox and the ham as the people's fellowship sacrifice. Aaron's sons brought him the blood, and he splattered all the sides of the altar. They also brought the fat portion from the ox and the ham, the fat tail, the fat surrounding the entrails, the kidney, and the fatty lobe on the liver, and placed them on the breasts. Aaron burned the fat portion of the altar, but he presented the breasts at the right thigh as a presentation offering before the Lord, as Moses had commanded. Aaron lifted up his hands towards the people and blessed them. He came down after sacrificing the sin offering, the burnt offering, and the fellowship offering. Moses and Aaron then entered the tent of meeting. When they came out, they blessed the people, and the glory of the Lord appeared to all the people. Fire came from the Lord and consumed the burnt offering and the fat portion on the altar. And when all the people saw it, they shouted and fell face down.
Leviticus chapter 10. Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abihu, each took his own firepan, put fire in it, placed incense on it, and presented unauthorized fire before the Lord, which he had not commanded them to do. Then fire came from the Lord and consumed them, and they died before the Lord. Moses said to Aaron, "This is what the Lord has spoken. I will demonstrate my holiness to those who are near me, and I will reveal my glory before all the people." And Aaron remained silent. Moses summoned Mishael and Elzaphan, sons of Aaron's uncle Uzziel, and said to them, "Come here and carry your relatives away from the front of the sanctuary to a place outside the camp." So they came forward and carried them in their tunics outside the camp, as Moses had said. Then Moses said to Aaron and his sons Eleazar and Ithamar, "Do not let your hair hang loose, and do not tear your clothes, or else you will die, and the Lord will become angry with the whole community. However, your brothers, the whole house of Israel, may weep over the fire that the Lord caused. You must not go outside the entrance to the tent of meeting, or you will die, for the Lord's anointing oil is on you." So they did as Moses said. The Lord spoke to Aaron, "You and your sons are not to drink wine or beer when you enter the tent of meeting, or else you will die. This is a permanent statute throughout your generations. You must distinguish between the holy and the common, and the unclean and the clean, and teach the Israelites all the statutes that the Lord has given to them through Moses." Moses spoke to Aaron and his remaining sons Eleazar and Ithamar, "Take the grain offering that is left over from the food offerings to the Lord, and eat it prepared without yeast beside the altar, because it is especially holy. You must eat in a holy place, because it is your portion, and your sons from the food offerings to the Lord. For this is what I commanded. But you and your sons and your daughters may eat the breast of the presentation offering and the thigh of the contribution in any ceremonial clean place, because these portions have been assigned to you and your children from the Israelites' fellowship sacrifices. They are to bring the thigh of the contribution and the breast of the presentation offering together with the food offerings of the fat portions, to present as a presentation offering before the Lord. It will belong permanently to you and your children, as the Lord commanded. Then Moses inquired carefully about the male goat of the sin offering, but it had already been burned up. He was angry with Eleazar and Ithamar, Aaron's surviving sons, and asked, "Why did you eat the sin offering in the sanctuary area? For it is especially holy, and he has assigned it to you to take away the guilt of the community and make atonement for them before the Lord. Since its blood was not brought inside the sanctuary, you should have eaten it in the sanctuary area as I commanded." But Aaron replied to Moses, "See, today they presented their sin offering and their burnt offering before the Lord. Since these things have happened to me, if I had eaten the sin offering today, what would have been acceptable in the Lord's sight?" When Moses heard this, it was acceptable to him. Leviticus chapter 11. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, "Tell the Israelites, you may eat all these kinds of land animals. You may eat any animal with divided hooves and that chews the cud. But among the ones that chew the cud or have divided hooves, you are not to eat these. Camels, though they chew the cud, do not have divided hooves. They are unclean for you. Hyraxes, though they chew the cud, they do not have hooves. They are unclean for you. Hares, though they chew the cud, do not have hooves. They are unclean for you. Pigs, though they have divided hooves, do not chew cud. They are unclean for you. Do not eat any of their meat or touch their carcasses. They are unclean for you. This is what you may eat from all that is in the water. You may eat everything in the water that has fins and scales, whether in the seas or streams, but these are to be abhorrent to you. Everything in the seas or streams that does not have fins and scales, among all the swarming things and other living creatures in the water, they are to remain abhorrent to you. You must not eat any of their meat, and you must arbor their carcasses. Everything in the water that does not have fins and scales will be abhorrent to you. You are to abhor these birds. They must not be eaten because they are abhorrent. Eagles, bearded vultures, Egyptian vultures, kites, any kind of falcon, every kind of raven, ostrich, short-eared owls, gulls, any kind of hawk, little owls, cormorants, long-eared owls, barn owls, eagle owls, ospreys, storks, any kind of heron, hoopies, and bats. All winged insects that walk on all four are to be abhorrent to you, but you may eat these kinds of all the winged insects that walk on all four, those that have jointed legs above their feet for hopping on the ground. You may eat these. Any kind of locust, katydid, cricket, and grasshopper. All other winged insects that have 4 feet are to be abhorrent to you. These will make you unclean. Whoever touches their carcasses will be unclean until evening, and whoever carries out any carcasses is to wash his clothes and will be unclean until evening. All animals that have hoofs but do not have divided hoof and do not chew the cud are unclean for you. Whoever touches them becomes unclean. All the 4-footed animals that walk on their paws are unclean for you. Whoever touches their carcasses will be unclean until evening, and anyone who carries their carcasses is to wash his clothes and will be unclean until evening. They are unclean for you. These creatures that swarm on the ground are unclean for you. Weasels, mice, any kind of large lizard, geckos, monitor lizards, common lizards, skinks, and chameleons. These are unclean for you among all the swarming creatures. Whoever touches them, they are dead, will be unclean until evening. When any one of them dies and falls on anything, it becomes unclean. Any item of wood, clothing, leather, sackcloth, or any implement used for work. It is to be rinsed with water and will remain unclean until evening. Then it will be clean. If any of it of them falls into it, any clay pot, everything in it will become unclean. You are to break it. Any edible food coming into contact with that unclean water will become unclean, and any drinkable liquid in any container will become unclean. Anything one of their carcasses falls on will become unclean. If it is in the oven or stove, it is to be smashed. It is unclean and will remain unclean for you. A spring or a cistern containing water will remain unclean. But someone who touches a carcass in it will become unclean. If one of their carcasses fall on any seed that is to be sown, it is clean. But if water has been put on the seed and on the carcass falls on it, it is unclean for you. If one of the animals that you use for food dies, anyone who touches its carcass will be unclean until evening. Anyone who eats some of its carcass is to wash his clothes and will be unclean until evening. Anyone who carries its carcass must wash his clothes and will be unclean until evening. All the creatures that swarm on the earth are abhorrent. They must not be eaten. Do not eat any of the creatures that swarm on the earth. Anything that moves on its belly or walks on all its four or on many feet, for they are abhorrent. Do not become contaminated by any creature that swarms. Do not become unclean or defiled by them, for I am the Lord your God. So you must consecrate yourself and be holy, because I am holy. Do not defile yourselves by swarming creatures that crawl on the ground, for I am the Lord who brought you out from the land of Egypt to your God. So you must be holy, because I am holy. This is the law concerning animals, birds, all living creatures that move in the water, and all creatures that swarm on the ground, in order to distinguish between the unclean and the clean, between the animals that may be eaten and those that may not be eaten.
Leviticus chapter 12. The Lord spoke to Moses. Tell the Israelites, when a woman becomes pregnant and gives birth to a male child, she will be unclean 7 days, as she is during the days of her menstrual impurity. The flesh of his forehead must be circumcised on the 8th day. She will continue in purification from her bleeding for 33 days. She must not touch any holy thing or go into a sanctuary until completing her days of purification. But if she gives birth to a female child, she will be unclean for 2 weeks, as she is during her menstrual impurity. She will continue in purification from her bleeding for 66 days. When her days of purification are complete, whether for a son or daughter, she is to bring to the priest at the entrance of the tent of meeting a year-old male lamb for a burnt offering, and a young pigeon or a turtle dove for a sin offering. She will present them before the Lord and make atonement on her behalf. She will be clean from her discharge of blood. This is the law of a woman giving birth, whether a male or female. But if she doesn't have sufficient means for sheep, she might take 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, one for a burnt offering and the other for a sin offering. Then the priest will make atonement on her behalf, and she will be clean.
Leviticus chapter 13. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron. When a person has a swelling, scab, or a spot on the skin of his body, and it may be a serious disease on the skin of his body, he is to be brought to the priest Aaron or to one of his sons priests. The priest will examine the sore on the skin of his body. If the hair in the sore has turned white and the sore appears to be deeper than the skin of his body, it is in fact a serious skin disease. After the priest examines him, he must pronounce him unclean. But if the spot on the skin of his body is white and does not appear to be deeper than the skin, and the hair is not turned white, the priest will coronate the stricken person for 7 days. The priest will then re-examine him on the 7th day. If he sees that the sore remains unchanged and has not spread on the skin, the priest will quarantine him for another 7 days. The priest will examine him again on the 7th day. If the sore has faded and has not spread on the skin, the priest is to pronounce him clean. It is a scab. The person is to wash his clothes and will become clean. But if the scab spreads further on his skin, after he has presented himself to the priest for his cleansing, he is to present himself again to the priest. The priest will examine him, and if the scab has spread on the skin, then the priest must pronounce him unclean. He has a serious skin disease. When a case of serious skin disease may have developed on the person, he is to be brought to the priest. The priest will examine him. If there is white swelling on the skin that has turned the white hair, and there is a patch of raw flesh in the swelling, it is a chronic serious disease on the skin of his body, and the priest must pronounce him unclean. He need not quarantine him, for he is unclean. But if the skin disease breaks out all over the skin, so that it covers all the skin of the stricken person from head to his feet, so far as the priest can see, the priest will look, and if the skin disease has covered his entire body, he is to pronounce the stricken person clean. Since he has turned totally white, he is clean. But whenever raw flesh appears on him, he will be unclean. When the priest examines the raw flesh, he must pronounce him unclean. Raw flesh is unclean. This is serious skin disease. But if the raw flesh changes and turns white, he is to go to the priest. The priest will examine him, and if the sore has turned white, the priest must pronounce the stricken person clean. He is clean. When a boil appears on the skin or someone's body, and it heals, and a white swelling or reddish white spot develops where the boil was, the person is to present himself to the priest. The priest will make an examination, and if the spot seems to be beneath the skin and the hair in it has turned white, the priest must pronounce him unclean. It is a case of serious skin disease that has broken out in the boil. But when the priest examines it, if there is no white hair in it, and it is not beneath the skin, but is faded, the priest will quarantine him 7 days. If it spreads further on his skin, the priest must pronounce him unclean. It is in fact a disease. But if the spot remains where it is and does not spread, it is only a scar from the boil. The priest is to pronounce him clean. When there is a burn on the skin of one's body produced by fire, and the patch made raw by the burn becomes reddish white or white, the priest is to examine it. If the hair in the spot has turned white and the spot appears to be deeper than the skin, it is a serious skin disease that has broken out and burned. The priest must pronounce him unclean. It is a serious skin disease. But when the priest examines it, there is no white hair in the spot, and it's not beneath the skin, but it faded. The priest will quarantine him 7 days. The priest will re-examine him on the 7th day. If it has spread further on the skin, the priest must pronounce him unclean. It is in fact a case of serious skin disease. If the spot has remained where it was and has not spread on the skin, but is faded, it is a swelling from the burn. The priest is to pronounce him clean, for it is only the scar from the burn. When a man or woman has a condition on the head or chin, the priest is to examine the condition. If it appears to be deeper than the skin and the hair is in yellow and sparse, the priest must pronounce the person unclean. It is a scaly outbreak, a serious skin disease of the head or chin. When the priest examines the scaly condition, if it does not appear to be deeper than the skin and there is no black hair in it, the priest will quarantine the person with the scaly condition for 7 days. The priest will re-examine the condition on the 7th day. If the scaly outbreak has not spread and there is no yellow hair in it and does not appear to be deeper than the skin, the person is to shave himself but not shave the scaly area. Then the priest will quarantine the person for the scaly outbreak for another 7 days. The priest will examine the scaly outbreak on the 7th day, and if it has not spread on the skin and does not appear to be deeper than the skin, the priest is to pronounce the person clean. He is to wash his clothes, and he will be clean. But if the scaly outbreak spreads further on the skin after his cleansing, the priest is to examine the person. If the scaly outbreak has spread on the skin, the priest does not need to look for yellow hair. The person is unclean. But as far as he can see, the scaly outbreak remains unchanged and black hair has grown in it. Then it has healed. He is clean. The priest has pronounced the person clean. When a man or woman has white spots on the skin of the body, the priest is to make an examination. If the spots on the skin of the body are dull white, It is only a rash that has broken out in the skin. The person is clean. If a man loses the hair of his head, he is bald, but he is clean. Or if he loses his hair at his hairline, he is bald on his forehead, but he is clean. But if there is a reddish-white condition on the bald head or forehead, it is a serious skin disease breaking out on his head or forehead. The priest is to examine him, and if the swelling of the condition on the bald head or his forehead is reddish-white, like the appearance of a serious skin disease on his body, the man is afflicted with a serious skin disease. He is unclean. The priest must pronounce him unclean. The infection is on his head. The person who has a case of serious skin disease is to have his clothes torn and his hair hanging loose, and he must cover his mouth and cry out, "Unclean! Unclean!" He will remain unclean as long as he has the disease. He is unclean. He must live alone in a place outside the camp. If a fabric is contaminated with mildew, in wool or linen fabric, in the wrap or weft of linen or wool, or in leather or anything made of leather, and if the contamination is green or red in the fabric, the leather, the wrap, the weft, or any leather article, it is a mildew contamination and is to be shown to the priest. The priest is to examine the contamination and quarantine the contaminated fabric for 7 days. The priest is to re-examine the contamination on the 7th day. If it has spread in the fabric, the wrap, the weft, or the leather, regardless of how it is used, the contamination is harmful mildew. It is unclean. He is to burn the fabric, the wrap or weft in wool or linen or any leather article which is contaminated. Since it is harmful mildew, it must be burned. When the priest examines it, if the contamination has not spread in the fabric, the wrap or weft of any leather article, the priest is to order whatever is contaminated to be washed and quarantined for another 7 days. After it has been washed, the priest is to re-examine the contamination. If the appearance of the contaminated article has not changed, it is unclean, even though the contamination has not spread. You must burn the fabric. It is a fungus on the front or back of the fabric. If the priest examines it and the contamination has faded after it has been washed, he is to cut the contaminated section out of the fabric, the leather, or the wrap, or a weft. But if it appears in the fabric, the wrap, or weft, or any leather article, it has broken out again. You must burn whatever is contaminated, but if the contamination disappears from any fabric, the wrap, the weft, or any leather article which has been washed, it is to be washed again, and it will be clean. This is the law concerning a mildew contamination in wool or linen fabric, wrap, or weft, or any leather article in order to pronounce it clean or unclean.
Leviticus 14. The Lord spoke to Moses. This is a law concerning the person afflicted with a skin disease on the day of his cleansing. He is to be brought to the priest, who will go outside the camp and examine him. If the skin disease has disappeared from the afflicted person, the priest will order that 2 live clean birds, cedar wood, scarlet yarn, and hyssop be brought for the one who is to be cleansed. Then the priest will order that one of the birds be slaughtered over the fresh water in a clay pot. He is to take the wood, scarlet yarn, and hyssop, and dip them all into the blood of the bird that was slaughtered over the fresh water. He will then sprinkle the blood 7 times on the one who is to be cleansed from the skin disease. He is to pronounce him clean and release the live bird over the open countryside. The one who is to be cleansed must wash his clothes, shave off all his hair, and bathe with the water. He is clean afterwards. He may enter the camp, but he must remain outside his tent for 7 days. He is also to shave off all his hair again, and the 7th day his head, his beard, his eyebrows, and the rest of his hair. He is to wash his clothes and bathe himself with water. He is clean. On the 8th day he must take 2 unblemished male lambs, an unblemished year-old ewe lamb, a grain offering for 6 quarts of fine flour mixed with olive oil, and 1/3 of quart of olive oil. The priest who performs the cleansing will place the person who is to be cleansed together with these offerings before the Lord at the entrance to the tent of meeting. The priest is to take 1 male lamb and present it as a guilt offering along with the 1/3 quart of olive oil, and he will present them as a presentation offering before the Lord. He is to slaughter the male lamb at the place in the sanctuary area where the sin offering and burnt offerings are slaughtered, for like the sin offering, the guilt offering belongs to the priest. It is especially holy. The priest is to take some of the blood from the guilt offering and put it on the lobe of right ear of the one to be cleansed, on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot. Then the priest will take some of the 1/3 quart of olive oil and pour it on his left palm. The priest will dip his right finger into the oil in his left palm and sprinkle some of the oil with his fingers 7 times before the Lord. From the olive remaining in his palm, the priest will put some on the lobe on the right ear of the one to be cleansed, on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot, on top of the blood of the guilt offering. What is left of the oil in the priest's palm, he is to put in the head of one to be cleansed. In this way, the priest will make an atonement for him before the Lord. The priest is to sacrifice the sin offering and make atonement for the one to be cleansed from his uncleanness. Afterwards he will slaughter the burnt offering. The priest is to offer the burnt offering and the grain offering on the altar. The priest will make atonement for him and will be clean. But if he is poor and cannot afford these, he is to take 1 male lamb for a guilt offering to be presented in order to make atonement for him, along with 2 quarts of fine flour mixed with olive oil. For grain offering, 1/3 of quart of olive oil, and 2 turtle doves, or 2 young pigeons. Whatever he can afford, one to be a sin offering, and the other a burnt offering. On the 8th day he is to bring these things for his cleansing to the priest at the entrance to the tent of meeting before the Lord. The priest will take the male lamb for the guilt offering and 1/3 quart of olive oil, and present them as a presentation offering before the Lord. After he slaughters the male lamb for the guilt offering, the priest is to take some of the blood of the guilt offering and put it on a right earlobe of the one to be cleansed, the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot. Then the priest will pour some of the oil into his left palm with his right finger, priest will sprinkle some of the oil in his left palm 7 times for the Lord. The priest will also put some of the olive in his palm on the right earlobe of the one to be cleansed, on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot, at the same place as the blood of the guilt offering. What is left of the oil in the priest's palm, he is to put on the head of the one to be cleansed to make atonement for him before the Lord. He is to then sacrifice one type of what he can afford, either the turtle dove or young pigeon, one as a sin offering and other as a burnt offering sacrifice. What he can afford, together with a grain of offering in his way. In this way, the priest will make anointment before the Lord for the one to be cleansed. This is the law for someone who has a skin disease and cannot afford the cost of his cleansing. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron when you enter the land of Canaan that I am giving you as possession, and I place mildew, contamination in a house in the land you possess. The owner of the house is to come and tell the priest something like mildew. The contamination has appeared in my house. The priest must order them to clean the house before entering the examine to the contamination, so that nothing in the house becomes unclean. Afterwards, the priest will come to examine the house. He will examine it, and if the contamination in the walls of the house consists of green or red indications that appears to be beneath the surface of the walls, the priest is to go outside the house to its doorway and quarantine the house for 7 days. The priest is to return on the 7th day and examine it. If the contamination has spread to the walls of the house, the priest must order that the stones with the contamination be pulled out and thrown into an unclean place outside the city. He is to have the inside of the house completely scraped and have the plaster that is scraped off dumped in the unclean place outside the city. Then they are to take different stones to replace the former one and take additional plaster to replaster the house. If the contamination reappears in the house after the stones have been pulled out, and after the house has been scraped and replaced, the priest is to come and examine it. If the contamination has spread in the house, it is harmful mildew. The house is unclean. It must be torn down with its stones, its beams, and all its plaster, and take outside the city to the unclean place. Whoever enters the house during any of the days the priest quarantines it will be unclean until evening. Whoever lies down in the house is to wash his clothes, and whoever eats in it is to wash his clothes. But when the priest comes and examines it, if the contamination has not spread in the house after it was replaced, he is to pronounce the house clean, because the contamination has disappeared. He is to take 2 birds, cedar wood, scarlet yarn, and hyssop, to purify the house, and is slaughtered one of the birds over a clay pot containing fresh water. He will take the cedar wood, the hyssop, the scarlet and antlet yarn, and the live bird, dip them in the blood of the slaughtered bird and fresh water, and sprinkle the house 7 times. He will purify the house with the blood of the bird, the fresh water, the live bird, the cedar wood, the hyssop, and the scarlet yarn. Then he is to release the live bird into the open countryside outside the city. In this way he will make one In this way he will make atonement for the house, and it will be clean. This is the law of any skin disease or mildew, for a scaly outbreak, for mildew in clothing or on a house, and for a swelling scab or spot, to determine when something is unclean or clean. This is a law regarding skin disease and mildew.
Leviticus 15. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, "Speak to the Israelites and tell them, when any man has a discharge from his member, he is unclean. This is uncleanness of his discharge, whether his member secrets the discharge or the retain it, he is unclean. All the days that his members secrets or retrains anything because of his discharge, he is unclean. Any bed the man with the discharge lies on will be unclean, and any furniture he sits on will be unclean. Anyone who touches his bed is to wash his clothes and bath with water, and he will remain unclean until evening. Whoever sits on furniture that the man with the discharge was sitting on is to wash his clothes and bath in water and he will remain unclean until evening. Whoever touches the body of the man with the discharge is to wash his clothes and bathe with water, and he will remain unclean until evening. If the man with the discharge spits on anyone who is clean, he is to wash his clothes and bathe with water, and he will remain unclean until evening. Any saddle the man with the discharge rides on will be unclean. Whoever touches anything that was under him will be unclean until evening, and whoever carries such things is to wash his clothes and bathe with water, and he will remain unclean until evening. If the man with the discharge touches anyone without first rinsing his hands in the water, the person who has touched is to wash his clothes and bathe with water, and he will remain unclean until evening. Any clay pot that the man with the discharge touches must be broken, while any wooden utensils is to be rinsed with water. When the man with the discharge has been cured of it, he is to count 7 days for his cleaning. Wash his clothes and bathe his body in fresh water. He will be clean. He must take 2 turtle doves and 2 young pigeons on the 8th day. Come before the Lord at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and give them to the priest. The priest is to sacrifice them as a sin offering, and the other as a burnt offering. In this way, the priest will make atonement for him before the Lord, because he is discharged. When a man has an emission of semen, he is to bathe himself completely with water, and he will remain unclean until evening. Any clothing or leather on which there is an emission is semen is to be washed with water, and it will remain unclean until evening. If a man sleeps with a woman and has an emission of semen, both of them are to bathe with water, and they will remain unclean until evening. When a woman has a discharge and consists of blood from her body, she will be unclean because of her menstruation. For 7 days, everyone who touches her will be unclean until evening. Anything she lies on during her menstruation will become unclean, and anything she sits on will become unclean. Everyone who touches her bed is to wash his clothes and bathe in water, and he will remain unclean until evening. Everyone who touches any furniture she was sitting on is to wash his clothes and bathe with water, and he will remain unclean until evening. If discharge is on the bed or the furniture she was sitting when he touches it, he will be unclean until evening. If a man sleeps with her and blood from her menstruation gets on him, he will be unclean for 7 days, and every bed he lies on will become unclean. When a woman has a discharge of her blood for many days, though it is not the time of her menstruation, or if she has a discharge beyond her period, she will be unclean all the days of her unclean discharge, as she is during the days of her menstruation. Any bed she lies on during the day of her discharge will be like her bed during the menstrual impurity. Any furniture she sits on will be unclean as in her menstrual period. Everyone who touches them will be unclean. He must wash his clothes and bathe with water, and he will remain clean until evening. When she is cured of her discharge, she is to count 7 days, and after that she will be clean. On the 8th day she must take 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons and bring them to the priest at the entrance to the tent of meeting. The priest is to sacrifice one as a sin offering and the other as a burnt offering. In this way, the priest will make anointment for her before the Lord. Because of her unclean discharge, you must keep the Israelites from their uncleanness, so that they do not die by defying my tabernacle that is among them. This is the law for someone with a discharge. A man who has an emission of semen becoming unclean by it. A woman who is in her menstrual period anyone who has a discharge, whether male or female, and a man who sleeps with a woman who is unclean. Leviticus 16. The Lord spoke to Moses after the death of two of Aaron's sons, when they approached the presence of the Lord and died. The Lord said to Moses, "Tell your brother Aaron that he may not come whenever he wants to the holy place behind the curtain in front of the mercy seat on the ark, or else he will die, because I appear in the clouds above the mercy seat. Aaron is to enter the most holy place in this way, with a young bull for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering. He is to wear a holy linen tunic and linen undergarments are to be on his body. He is to tie a linen sash around him and wrap his head with a linen turban. With these are holy garments. He must bathe his body with water before he wears them. He is to ask the Israelite community 2 male goats for sin offering and 1 ram for burnt offering. Aaron will present a bull for his sin offering and make atonement for himself and his household. Next, he will take the 2 goats and place them before the Lord in the entrance of the tent of meeting. After Aaron casts lots for 2 goats, 1 lot for the Lord and the other for an uninhabited place. He is to present the goat chosen for the land, but sacrifice it as a sin offering. But the goat chosen not for an uninhabited place is to be presented alive before the Lord to make an atonement with it by sending it with the wilderness for an uninhabited place. When Aaron presents the bull for his sin offering and makes anointment for himself and his household, he will slaughter the bull for his sin offering. Then he is to take a fire pan full of blazing coal from the altar before the Lord, and 2 handfuls of finely ground fragrance incense, and bring them inside the curtain. He is to put the incense on the fire before the Lord, so that he could be incense covered the mercy seat that is over the testimony, or else he will die. He is to take some of the bull's blood and sprinkle it with his fingers against the east side of the mercy seat. Then he will sprinkle some of the blood with his finger before the mercy seat 7 times. When he slaughters the male goat for the people's sin offering and bring its blood inside the curtain, he will do the same with its blood as he did with the bull's blood. He is to sprinkle it against the mercy seat and in front of it. He will make anointment for the most holy place in this way for all their sins because of the Israelites' impurities and reprobation acts. He will do the same for the tent of meeting that remains among them, because it is surrounded by their impurities. No one may be in the tent of meeting from the time he enters to make anointment in the most holy place until he leaves. After he has made anointment for himself, his household, and the whole assembly for Israel, then he will go out to the altar that is before the Lord and make anointment for it. He is to take some of the bull blood and some of the goat's blood, and put it on the horns on all sides of the altar. He is to sprinkle some of the blood with his fingers 7 times to cleanness, and set it apart from the Israelites' impurities. When he has finished making anointment for the most holy place, his tent of meeting and the altar, he is to present the live male goat. Aaron will lay both his hands on the head of the live goat and confess over it all the Israelites' iniquities and reprobation, all their sins. He is to put them on the goat's head and send it away into the wilderness by the man appointed for the task. The goat will carry all their iniquities and into a desolate land, and the man will release it there. Then Aaron is to enter the tent of meeting, take off the linen garment he wore when he entered the most holy place, and leave them here. He will bathe with his body with water in the holy place, but put his clothes. Then he must go out and sacrifice his burnt offering and the people's burnt offering. He will make anointment for himself and for the people. He is to burn the fat of the sin offering on the altar. The man who released the goat for an uninhabited place is to wash his clothes and bathe his body with water. Afterward he may return into the camp. The bull for the sin offering and the goat for the sin offering, whose both blood was brought into the most holy place to make anointment, just be brought outside and camp, and their hide, flesh, and waste burned. The one who burns them is to wash his clothes and bathe himself in water. Afterward he may return to camp. This is to be permanent state of you for you. In the 17th month, on the 10th day, one of the month, you are to practice self-denial and do not work. Both the native and the aliens who raised among you, atonement will be made for you on this day to cleanse you, and you will be clean from all your sins before the Lord. It is a Sabbath of complete rest for you, and you must protect self-denial. It is a permanent statute. The priest who is anointed or ordained to serve as high priests in place of his father will make anointment. He will put in the linen garment, the holy garment, and make atonement for the most holy place. He will make anointment for the tent of meeting and the altar. He will bring anointment for the priests and all the people on the Sabbath. This is to be prepared statute for you is to make anointment for the Israelites once a year because of all their sins. And all this was done as the Lord commanded Moses.
Leviticus 17. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Speak to Aaron, his sons, and all the Israelites, and tell them, this is what the Lord has commanded. Anyone from the house of Israel who slaughters an ox, sheep, or goat in the camp, or slaughters it outside the camp, instead of bringing it to the entrance of the tent of the meeting to present it as an offering to the Lord before his tabernacle, that person will be considered guilty. He has shed blood, and it is to be cut off from his people. This is so the Israelites will bring to the Lord the sacrifices they have been offering in the open country. They are to bring them to the priests at the entrance of the tent of the meeting and offer them as fellowship sacrifice to the Lord. The priest will then splatter the blood of the on the Lord's altar at the entrance of the tent of meeting and burn the fat as a pleasing aroma to the Lord. They must no longer offer their sacrifices to the goat demons that they have prostituted themselves with. This is to be permanent statute throughout their generation. Say to them, anyone from the house of Israel or from the aliens who reside among them who offers a burnt offering or a sacrifice, but does not bring it to the entrance of the tent of meeting to sacrifice it to the Lord, that person is to be cut off from his people. Anyone from the house of Israel or from the aliens who reside among them who eats any blood, I will turn against that person who eats blood and cut him off from his people. For the life of a creature is in its blood, and I have appointed it to you to take atonement to the altar for your lives, since it is a life blood that makes atonement. Therefore, I say to the Israelites, none of you and no alien who resides among you will have blood. Any Israelite or alien residing among them who hunts down a wild animal or bird that might be eaten must drink its blood and cover it with dirt, since the life of every creature is in its blood. I have told the Israelites, you are not to eat the blood of any creature, because the life of every creature is in its blood. Whoever eats it must be cut off. Every person, whether the native or the resident alien, who eats an animal and dies a natural death, or was mauled by wild beasts, is to wash his clothes and bathe with water, and he will remain clean until evening. Then he will be clean. But if he does not wash his clothes and bathe himself, he will bear his iniquity.
Leviticus chapter 18. The Lord spoke to Moses, Speak to the Israelites and tell them, I am the Lord your God. Do not follow the practices of the land of Egypt, where you used to live, or follow the practices of the land of Canaan, where I am bringing you. You must not follow their customs. You are to practice my ordinances, and you are to keep my statutes by following them. I am the Lord your God. Keep my statutes and ordinances. A person will live if he does them. I am the Lord. You are not to come near any close relative for sexual intercourse. I am the Lord. You are not to violate the intimacy that belongs to your father and mother. She is your mother. You must not have sexual intercourse with her. You are not to have sex with your father's wife. She is your father's family. You are not to have sexual intercourse with your sister, either your father's daughter or your mother's, whether born at home or born elsewhere. You are not to have sex with her. You are not to have sexual intercourse with your son's daughter or your daughter's daughter, for they are your family. You are not to have sexual intercourse with your father's wife's daughter, who is adopted by your father. She is your sister. You are not to have sexual intercourse with your father's sister. She is your father's close relative. You are not to have sexual intercourse with your mother's sister, for she is your mother's close relative. You are not to violate the intimacy that belongs to your father's brother by approaching his wife to have sexual intercourse. She is your aunt. You are not to have sexual intercourse with your daughter-in-law. She is your son's wife. You are not to have sex with her. You are not to have sexual intercourse with your brother's wife. She is your brother's family. You are not to have sexual intercourse with a woman and her daughter. You are not to marry her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter and have sex with her. They are close relatives. It is depraved. You are not to marry a woman as a rival to her sister and have sexual intercourse with her during her sister's lifetime. You are not to approach a woman during her menstrual impurity to have sexual intercourse with her. You are not to have sexual intercourse with your neighbor's wife, defiling yourself with her. You are not to sacrifice any of your children in the fire to Molech. Do not profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. You are not to sleep with a man as with a woman. It is detestable. You are not to have sexual intercourse with any animal, defiling yourself with it. Woman is not to present herself to an animal to mate with. It is a perversion. Do not defile yourself by any of these practices, for the nations I am driving out before you have defiled themselves by all these things. The land has become defiled, so I am punishing it for its iniquity, and the land will vomit out its inhabitants. But you are to keep my statutes and ordinances. You must not commit any of these detestable acts, not the native or the alien who resides among you, for the people who were in the land prior to you have committed all these detestable acts, and the land has become defiled. If you defile the land, it will vomit you out as it has vomited out the nations that were before you. Any person who does any of these detestable practices is to be cut off from their people. You must keep my instructions. Do not do any of the detestable customs that were practiced before you, so that you do not defile yourselves by them. I am the Lord your God.
Leviticus 19. The Lord spoke to Moses, Speak to the entire of Israelite community, and tell them, Be holy, because I, the Lord your God, am holy. Each of you is to respect his mother and father. You are to keep my Sabbath. I am the Lord your God. Do not turn to worthless idols, or make cast images images of gods for yourselves. I am the Lord your God. When you offer a fellowship sacrifice to the Lord, sacrifice it so that you may be accepted. It is to be eaten in the day you sacrifice it, or the next day, but what remains on the third day must be burned. If any is eaten on the third day, it is a repulsed thing. It will not be accepted. Anyone who eats it will bear his iniquity, for he has profaned what is holy to the Lord. That person is to be cut off from his people. When you reap the harvest of your land, you're not to reap to the very edge of your field, or gather the gleaning of your harvest. Do not strip your vineyard bare or gather its fallen grapes leaves. Leave them for the poor and the resident alien. I am the Lord your God. Do not steal, do not act deceptively or lie to one another. Do not swear falsely by my name, profaning the name of your God. I am the Lord. Do not oppress your neighbor or rob him. The wages due a hired worker must not remain with you until morning. Do not curse the deaf or put a stumbling block in front of the blind. But you are to fear your God. I am the Lord. Do not act unjustly when deciding a case. Do not be partial to the poor or give preference to the rich. Judge your neighbors fairly. Do not go around spreading slander among your people. Do not jeopardize your neighbor's life. I am the Lord. Do not harbor hatred against your brother. Rebuke your neighbor directly, and you will not incur guilt because of him. Do not take revenge or bear a grudge against your members of your community, but love your neighbors as yourself. I am the Lord. You are to keep my statutes. Do not crossbreed two different kinds of livestock. Sow your field with two kinds of seeds, or put on a garment made of two kinds of material. If a man has intercourse with a woman who is a slave designed for another man, but she has not been redeemed or given her freedom, they must be punished. They are not to be put to death because she had not been freed. However, he must bring a ram as his guilt offering to the Lord at the entrance to the tent of meeting. The priest will make atonement on his behalf before the Lord with the ram of the guilt offering for the sin he has committed, and he will be forgiven for the sin he committed. When you come into the land, any plant, any kind of tree for food, you are to consider the fruit forbidden. The fruit forbidden. It will be forbidden to you for 3 years. It is not to be eaten. In the 4th year, all its fruit is to be consecrated as a praise offering to the Lord. But in the 5th year, you are to eat its fruits. In this way, its yield will increase for you. I am the Lord your God. You are not to eat anything with blood in it. You are not to practice divination or witchcraft. You're not to cut off the hair at the side of your head or mar the edge of your beard. You're not to make gashes on your body for the dead or put tattoo marks on yourselves. I'm the Lord. Do not debase your daughter by taking her a prostitute, or the land will be prostituted, and the field with depravity. Keep my Sabbaths and reverie, my sanctuary. I am the Lord. Do not turn to medium or consult the spirits, or you will be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. You are not to rise the presence in the elderly and honor the old. Fear your God. I am the Lord. When an alien resident with you in your land, you must not oppress him. You will regard the alien who resides with you as a native born among you. You are to love him as yourself, for you were aliens in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Do not be unfair in measurements of length, width, or volume. You are to have honest balance, honest weight, an honest dry measure, and any honest liquid measure. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt. Keep all my statutes and all my ordinances, and do them. I am the Lord.
Leviticus chapter 20. The Lord spoke to Moses, Say to the Israelites, any Israelite or alien residing in Israel who gives any of his children to Molech must be put to death. The people of the country are to stone him. I will turn against that man and cut him off from his people, because he gave his offspring to Molech, defiling my sanctuary and profaning my holy name. But if the people of the country look the other way, when that man gives any of his children to Molech, and do not put him to death, then I will turn against that man and his family, and cut off from their people, both him and all who follow him, in prostituting themselves with Molech. Whoever turns to mediums or spiritists and prostitutes himself with them, I will turn against that person, and cut him off from his people. Consecrate yourselves and be holy, for I am the Lord your God. Keep my statutes and do them. I am the Lord who sets you apart. If anyone curses his father or mother, he must be put to death. He has cursed his father or mother. His death is his own fault. If a man commits adultery with a married woman, if he commits adultery with his neighbor's wife, both the adulterer and the adulteress must be put to death. If a man sleeps with his father's wife, he has violated the intimacy that belongs to his father. Both of them must be put to death. Their death is their own fault. If a man sleeps with his daughter-in-law, both of them must be put to death. They have acted perversely. Their death is their own fault. If a man sleeps with a man as with a woman, they have both committed a detestable act. They must be put to death. Their death is their own fault. If a man marries a woman and her mother, it is depraved. Both he and they must be burned, so that there will be no depravity among you. If a man has sexual intercourse with an animal, he must be put to death. You are also to kill the animal. If a woman approaches any animal and mates with it, you are to kill the woman and the animal. They must be put to death. Their death is their own fault. If a man marries his sister, whether his father's daughter or his mother's daughter, and they have sexual relations, it is a disgrace. They are to be cut off publicly from their people. He has had sexual intercourse with his sister. He will bear his iniquity. If a man sleeps with a menstruating woman and has sexual intercourse with her, he has exposed the source of her flow, and she has uncovered the source of her blood. Both of them are to be cut off from their people. You must not have sexual intercourse with your mother's sister or your father's sister, for it is exposing one's own blood. relative. Both people will bear their iniquity. If a man sleeps with his aunt, he has violated the intimacy that belongs to his uncle. They will bear their guilt and die childless. If a man marries his brother's wife, it is impurity. He has violated the intimacy that belongs to his brother. They will be childless. You are to keep all my statutes and all my ordinances and do them, so that the land where I am bringing you to live will not vomit you out. You must not follow the statutes of the nations I am driving out before you, for they did all these things, and I am abhorred them. And I promised you, you will inherit their land, since I will give it to you to possess, a land flowing with milk and honey. I am the Lord your God, who set you apart from the peoples. Therefore you are to distinguish the clean animal from the unclean one, and the unclean bird from the clean one. Do not become contaminated by any land animal, bird, or whatever crawls on the ground. I have set these apart as unclean for you. You are to be holy to me, because I am the Lord. I am holy and have set you apart from the nations to be mine. A man or woman who is a medium or a spiritist must be put to death. They are to be stoned. Their death is their own fault.
Leviticus 21. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to Aaron's sons, the priests, and tell them, a priest is not to take himself ceremonially unclean for a dead person among his relatives, except for his immediate family, his mother, father, son, daughter, or brother. He might make himself unclean for this unmarried virgin sister in his immediate family. He is not to take himself unclean for those related to him by marriage, and so defile himself. Priests might not take bald spots on their heads, shave the edge of the beards, or make garnishes on their bodies. They are to be holy to their God and not profane the name of the Lord, for they present the food offering to the Lord, the food of their God, and they must be holy. They are not to marry a woman defiled by prostitution. They are not to marry one divorced by her husband. The priest is holy to his God. You are not to consider him holy, since he presents the food of your God. He will be holy to you, because I, the Lord, who sets you apart, am holy. If a priest's daughter defiles herself by promiscuity, she defiles her father. She must be burned to death. The priest who is highest among his brothers, who has had the anointing oil poured in his head and has been ordained to wear the clothes, must not dishevel his hair or tear his clothes. He must not go near any dead person or make himself unclean, even for his father or mother. He must not leave the sanctuary, or he will desecrate the sanctuary of his God. For the consecration of the anointing oil of his God is on him. I am the Lord. He is to marry a woman who is a virgin. He is not to marry a widow, a divorced woman, or any defiled by prostitution. He is to marry a virgin from his own people, so that he does not corrupt his bloodline among his people, for I am the Lord, who sets him apart. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Tell Aaron, none of your descendants throughout your generation who has a physical defect is to come near to present the food of his God. No man who has any defects is to come near to man who is blind. No man who is blind, lame, facially disfigured, or deformed. No man who has a broken foot or hand, who is hunchback or dwarf, or who has an eye defect, festering hash, scabs, or crushed testicles. No descendant of the priest Aaron who has a defect is to come near to present the food offering to the Lord. He has a defect and is not to come near to present the food of his God. He might eat the food of his God from what is especially holy as well as from what is holy. But because he has a defect, he is not to go near the curtain or approach the altar. He is not to desecrate by holy places, for I am the Lord who sets them apart. Moses said this to Aaron and his sons and all the Israelites.
Leviticus 22. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Tell Aaron and his sons to deal respectfully with the holy offering of the Israelites that they have considered to me. Do not profane my holy name. I am the Lord. Say to them, if any man from any of your distinction throughout your generation is in a state of cluelessness, yet approached the holy offering that the Israelites consecrate to the Lord, that person will be cut off from my presence. I am the Lord. No man of Aaron's descendants who has a skin disease or a discharge is to eat from the holy offering until he is clean. Whoever touches anything made unclean on a dead person or by a man who has an emish of semen, or whoever touches my swarming creature that makes him unclean, or any person who makes him unclean, whatever his uncleanness, the man who touches any of these will remain unclean until evening, and is not to eat from the holy offering unless he has bathed his body with water. Then the sun has set. When the sun has set, he will become clean, and then he may eat from the holy offering. For that is his blood. He must not eat an animal that died naturally or was manually killed by wild beasts, making himself unclean by it. I am the Lord. They must keep my instructions, or they will be guilty and die because they profaned it. I am the Lord who set them apart. No one outside a priest's family is to eat the holy offering. A ferment staying with a priest or a hired worker is not to eat the holy offering. But if the priest purchases someone with his own silver, that person may eat it, and those born in his house may eat his food. If the priest's daughter is married a man outside a priest's family, she is not to eat from the holy contradiction. But if the priest's daughter becomes widowed and divorced, has no children, and returns to her father's house, as in her youth, she may share her father's food, but no outsiders may share it. If anyone eats the holy offering in error, he is to add a fifth of its value on and give the holy offering to the priest. The priest must not profane the holy offering the Israelites gave to the Lord by letting the people eat their holy offering and having them bear the penalty of restoration. But for I am the Lord who set them apart. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Speak to Aaron, his sons, and all the Israelites, and tell them, May men of the house of Israel, or the resident alien in Israel, who presents his offering, whether they present payment of vows or free will gift to the Lord as burnt offering, must offer an unblemished male from the cattle, sheep, or goat. In order for you to be accepted, you are not to present anything that has a defect, because it will not be accepted on your behalf. When a man presents a fellowship sacrifice to the Lord to fulfill a vow, or as a free will of veering from the herd or flock, it has to be unblemished to be acceptable. There must be no defect in it. You are to present any animal to the Lord you are not to present any animal to the Lord that is blind, injured, maimed, or has a running sore, festering rash, or scabs. You may not put any of them on the altar as a food offering to the Lord. You may sacrifice as a freewill offering any animal from the herd or flock that has an acknowledged or stunned limb, but it is not acceptable as a vow offering. You are not to present to the Lord anything that has bruises, crushed, torn, or severed tentacle. You must not sacrifice them in your land, neither you nor a foreigner are to present food to your God from any of these animals. They will not be accepted for you, because they are deformed and have a defect. The Lord spoke to Moses, when an ox, sheep, or goat is born, it is to remain with its mother for 7 days. From the 8th day on, it will be acceptable as an offering, a food offering to the Lord, but you are not to slaughter her, an animal from the herd or flock, the same day as its young. When you offer a thanksgiving sacrifice to the Lord, offer it so that you may be accepted. It is to be eaten on the same day. Do not let any of it remain till morning. I am the Lord. You are to keep my commands and do them. I am the Lord. You must not profane my holy name. Israelites, I must be treated as holy among the Israelites. I am the Lord who sets you apart, the one who brought your God. I am the Lord.
Leviticus 23. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and tell them, these are my appointed times, the times of the Lord that you'll proclaim as sacred assemblies. Work may be done for 6 days, but on the seventh day there is to be a Sabbath of complete rest, a sacred assembly. You are not to do any work. It is a Sabbath to the Lord wherever you live. These are the Lord's appointed times, the sacred assemblies you are to proclaim at the appointed times. The Passover to the Lord comes on the first month, at twilight on the 14th day of the month. The festival of unleavened bread to the Lord is on the 15th day of the same month. For 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. On the first day you are to hold a sacred assembly. You are to not do any daily work. You are to present a food offering to the Lord for 7 days. On the seventh day there will be a sacred assembly. Do not do any daily work. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and tell them, when you enter the land I am giving you and reap its harvest, you are to bring the first sheaf of your harvest to the priest. He will present the sheaf before the Lord, so that you may be accepted. The priest is to present it on the day after the Sabbath. On the day you present the sheaf, you are to offer a year-old male lamb without blemish as a burnt offering to the Lord. Its grain offering is to be 4 quarts of fine flour mixed with oil as a food offering to the Lord. A pleasing aroma, and its drink offering will be 1 quart of wine. You must not eat bread, roasted grain, or any new grain until this very day, and until you have brought the offering to your God. This is to be permanent statute throughout your generations. Wherever you live, you are to connect 7 complete weeks, starting from the day after the Sabbath, the day you brought the sheaf of the presentation offering. You are not to count the 50 days until the day after the 7th Sabbath, and then present an offering of new grain to the Lord. Bring 2 loaves of bread from your settlement as a presentation offering, each of them made from 4 quarts of fine flour baked with yeast as first fruit to the Lord. You are to present with the red 7 unblemished male lambs, a year old, 1 young bull, and 2 rams. They will be a burnt offering to the Lord. With their grain offerings and drink offerings, a food offering of pleasant aroma to the Lord. You are also to prepare 1 male goat as a sin offering, and 2 male lambs as a year old as a fellowship sacrifice. The priest will present the lamb with the bread of first fruits as a presentation offering before the Lord. The bread and 2 lambs will be holy to the Lord for the priest. On the same day you are to make a proclamation and hold a sacred assembly. You are not to do any daily work. This is to be permanent status whenever you live throughout your generations. When you reap the harvest of your land, you are not to reap all the way to the edge of your field, or gather the gleaning of your harvest. Leave them for the poor and resident alien. I am the Lord your God. The Lord spoke to Moses. Tell my Israelites in the seventh month, on the first day of the month, you are to have a day of complete rest, commemoration, and trumpet blasts. A sacred assembly. You must not do any daily work, but you must present a food offering to the Lord. The Lord again spoke to Moses. The 10th day of this 7th month is the day of atonement. You are to hold a sacred assembly and practice self-denial. You are to present a food offering to the Lord on this particular day. You are not to do any work, for it is a day of anointment, to make the Lord your God. To make anointment for your servers, yourselves, before the Lord your God. If any person does not practice self-denial on this particular day, he is to be cut off from his people. I will destroy among his people anyone who does any work on the same day. You are not to do any work. This is a permanent statute throughout your generations. Wherever you live, it will be a Sabbath of complete rest for you, and you must practice self-denial. You are to observe your Sabbath from the evening of the 9th day of the month until the following evening. The Lord spoke to Moses. Tell the Israelites, the festival of shelters to the Lord begins on the 15th day of the 7th month and continues for 7 days. There is to be a sacred assembly on the first day. You are to not do any daily work. You are to present a food offering to the Lord for 7 days. On the 8th day, you are not to hold a sacred assembly and present a food offering to the Lord. It is a solemn assembly. You are not to do any daily work. These are the Lord's appointed times that you are to proclaim as sacred assemblies for presenting food offerings to the Lord, burnt offerings and grain offerings, sacrifices and drink offerings, each on its designated day. These are in addition to the offering for the Lord's Sabbath. Your gifts, all your vow offering, and all your free will offering that you give to the Lord. You are to celebrate the Lord's festival on the 15th day of the 7th month for 7 days after you have gathered the produce of the land. There will be complete rest on the first day and complete rest on the 8th day. On the first day, you are to take the product of majestic trees, palm fronds, boughs of leaf trees, and willow of the brook, and rejoice before the Lord your God for 7 days. You are to celebrate it a festival to the Lord 7 days each year. This is a permanent status for you throughout your generations. Celebrate it in 7 months. You are to live in the shelter for 7 days. All native born of Israel must live in shelters, so that your generations may know that I made the Israelites live in the shelter when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. So Moses declared the Lord's appointed times to the Israelites.
Leviticus 24. The Lord spoke to Moses. Command the Israelites to bring you pure oil from crushed olives for the light, in order to keep the lamp burning regularly. Aaron is to tend it continually from evening until morning before the Lord, outside the curtain of the testimony in the tent of meeting. This is permanent statute throughout your generations. He must continually tend the lamps on the pure gold lampstand in the Lord's presence. Take fine flour and bake it into 12 loaves. Each loaf is to be made with your cords. Arrange them in 2 rows, 6 to a row, on the pure gold table before the Lord. Place pure frankincense near each row, so that it may serve as a memorial portion for the bread and a food offering to the Lord. The bread is to be set out before the Lord every Sabbath day as a permanent covenant obligation on the part of the Israelites. It belongs to Aaron and his sons, who are to eat in it in a holy place, for it is a holiest portion for him from the food offerings to the Lord. This is a permanent rule. Now the son of an Israelite mother and an Egyptian father has among the Israelites. A fight broke out in the camp between the Israelite woman's son and an Israelite man. Her son cursed and blasphemed the name, and they brought him to Moses. His mother's name was Selomith, a daughter of Ditri, of the tribe of Dan. They put him in custody until the Lord's decision could be made clear to them. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, "Bring the one who has cursed the outside of the camp, and have all who heard him lay hands on his head. Then have the whole community stone him, and tell the Israelites, if anyone curses his God, he will bear the consequences of this sin. Whoever blasphemes the name of the Lord must be put to death. The whole community is to stone him. It is blaspheme the name. He is to be put to death, whether the resident alien or the native. If a man kills anyone, he must be put to death. Whoever kills an animal is to make a restitution for it, life for life. If any man inflicts a permanent injury on his neighbor, whatever he has done, it should be done to him, fracture to fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Whatever injury he inflicted on the person, the same is to be inflicted on him. Whoever kills an animal is to make a restitution for it. But whoever kills a person is to be put to death. You are to have the same law for the resident alien and the native, because I am the Lord your God. After Moses spoke to the Israelites, they brought the one who had cursed to the outside of the camp and stoned him. So the Israelites did as the Lord had commanded Moses.
Leviticus 25. The Lord spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai. Speak to the Israelites and tell them, when you enter the land I am giving you, the land will observe a Sabbath to the Lord. You may sow your field for 6 years, and you may prune your vineyards and gather its produce for 6 years. But there will be a Sabbath of complete rest for the land in the 7th year, a Sabbath to the Lord. You are not to sow your field or prune your vineyard. You are not to reap what grows by itself from your crops, or harvest the grapes of your untended vines. It is to be a year of complete rest for the land. Whatever the land produces during the Sabbath year can be food for you, for yourself, your male or female slaves, and the hired workers or alien who resides with you. All of its growth may serve as food for your livestock and the wild animals in your land. You are to count 7 sabbatical years, 7 times 7 years, so that the time period of the 7 sabbatical years amount to 49. Then you are to sound the ram's horn loudly in the 7th month. On the 10th day of the month you will sound it throughout your land on the Day of Atonement. You are to consecrate the 50th year and proclaim freedom in the land for all its inhabitants. It will be your jubilee, when each of you is to return to his property, and each of you to his clan. The 50th year will be your jubilee. You are not to sow, reap what grows by itself, or harvest its untended vines. It is to be holy to you because it is the jubilee. You may only eat its produce directly from the field. In this year of jubilee, each of you will return to his property. If you make a sale to your neighbor or a purchase from him, do not cheat one another. You are to make the purchase from your neighbor based on the number of years since the last jubilee. He is to sell to you based on the number of remaining harvest years. You are to increase its price in proportion to a greater amount of years, and decrease its price in proportion to a lesser amount of years, because what he is selling to you is a number of harvests. You are not to cheat one another, but fear your God, for I am the Lord your God. You are to keep my statutes and ordinances and carefully observe them, so that you may live securely in the land. Then the land will yield its fruits, so that you can eat, be satisfied, and live securely in the land. If you wonder what will we eat in the 7th year, if we don't sow or gather our produce, I will appoint my blessings for you in the 6th year. so that it will produce a crop sufficient for 3 years. When you sow in the 8th year, you will be eating from the previous harvest. You will be eating this until the 9th year when its harvest comes in. The land is not to be permanently sold because it is mine, and you are only alien and temporary residents on my land. You are to allow the redemption of any land you occupy. If your brother becomes destitute and sells part of his property, his nearest relative may come and redeem what his brother has sold. The man has no family redeemer, but he prospers and obtains enough to redeem his land. He may calculate the years since its sale, repay the balance to the man he sold to it, and return to his property. But if he cannot obtain enough to repay him, what he sold will remain in the possession of its purchaser until the year of Jubilee. It is to be released at the Jubilee so that he may return to his property. If a man sells a residence in a walled city, his right of redemption will last until a year has passed after its sale. His right of redemption will last a year. If it is not redeemed by the end of a full year, then the house in the walled city is permanently transferred to its purchaser throughout his generations. It is not to be released on the Jubilee, but houses in settlement that have no walls around them are to be classified as open fields. The right to redeem such houses stays in effect, and they are to be released at the Jubilee. Concerning the Levitical cities, the Levites always have the right to redeem houses in the cities they possess. Whatever property one of the Levites can redeem, a house sold in a city they possess is to be released at the Jubilee, because the houses in the Levitical cities are their possessions among the Israelites. The open pasture land around their cities may not be sold, for it is their permanent possession. If your brother becomes destitute and cannot sustain himself among you, you are to support him as an alien or temporary resident, so that he can continue to live among you. Do not profit or take interest from him, but fear your God and let your brother live among you. You are not to lend him your silver with interest, or sell him your food for profit. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan and to be your God. If your brother among you becomes destitute and sells himself to you, you must not force him to do slave labor. Let him stay with you as a hired worker or temporary resident. He may work for you until the year of Jubilee. Then he and his children are to be released from you, and he may return to his clan and his ancestral property. They are not to be sold as slaves, because they are my servants that I brought out of the land of Egypt. You are not to rule over them harshly, but fear your God. Your male and female slaves are to be from the nations around you. You may purchase male and female slaves. You may also purchase them from the aliens residing with you, or from their families living among you. Those born in your land, these may become your property. You may leave them to your sons after you to inherit as property. You can make them slaves for life, but concerning your brothers, the Israelites, you must not rule over one another harshly. If an alien or temporary resident living among you prospers, but your brother living near him becomes destitute and sells himself to the alien living among you, or to a member of the resident alien's clan, he has the right of redemption after he has been sold. One of his brothers may redeem him. His uncle or cousin may redeem him, or any of his close relatives from his clan may redeem him. If he prospers, he may redeem himself. The one who purchased him is to calculate the time from the years he sold himself to him until the year of Jubilee. The price of his sale will be determined by the number of years. It will be set for him like the daily wages of a hired worker. If many years are still left, he must pay his redemption price in proportion to them based on his purchase price. If only a few years remain until the year of Jubilee, he will calculate and pay the price of his redemption in proportion to his remaining years. He will stay with him like a man hired year by year. A resident alien is not to rule over him harshly in your sight. If he is not redeemed in any of these ways, he and his children are to be released at the year of Jubilee. For the Israelites are my servants. They are my servants that I brought out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God.
Leviticus 26. Do not make worthless idols for yourselves. Set up a carved image or sacred pillars for yourself, or place a sculpted stone in your land to bow down to it. For I am the Lord your God. Keep my Sabbaths and revere my sanctuary. I am the Lord. If you follow my statutes and faithfully observe my commands, I will give you rain at the right time, and the land will yield its produce, and the trees of the field will bear their fruit. Your threshing will continue until grapes harvest, and grape harvest will continue until sowing time. You will have plenty of food to eat, and live securely in your land. I will give peace to the land, and you will lie down with nothing to frighten you. I will remove dangerous animals from the land, and no swords will pass through your land. You will pursue your enemies, and they will fall before you by the sword. 5 of you will pursue 100, and hundreds of you will pursue 10,000. Your enemies will fall before you by the sword. I will turn to you, make you fruitful and multiply you, and confirm my covenant with you. You will eat the old grain of the previous year, and will clear out the old to make room for the new. I will place my residence among you, and I will not reject you. I will walk among you and be your God, and you will be my people. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, so that you would no longer be their slave. I broke the bars of your yoke and enabled you to live in freedom. But if you do not obey me and observe all these commands, if you reject my status and despise my ordinances, and do not observe all my commands and break my covenant, then I will do this to you. I will bring terror on you, wasting diseases and fever that will cause your eye to fail and your life to ebb away. You will sow your seeds in vain, because your enemies will eat it. I will turn against you so that you will be defeated by your enemies. Those who hate you will rule over you, and you will flee, even though no one is pursuing you. But if after these things you will not obey me, I'll proceed to discipline you 7 times for your sins. I will break down your strong pride. I'll make your sky like iron and your length like bronze, and your strength will be used up for nothing. Your land will not yield its produce, and the trees of the land will not bear their fruit. If you act with honesty towards me and are unwilling to obey me, I will multiply your plagues 7 times for your sins. I will send wild animals against you that will deprive you of your children, ravage your livestock, and reduce your numbers until your roads are deserted. If, in spite of these things, You do not accept my discipline, but act with honesty towards me. Then I will act with honesty towards you. I also will strike you 7 times for your sins. I will bring a sword against you to execute the vengeance of the covenant through you. Withdraw into your cities. I will send a pestilence among you, and I will be delivered into enemies' hands. When I cut off your supply of bread, 10 women will bake your bread in a single oven and ration out your bread by weight. Ration out your bread by weight, so that you will eat but not be satisfied. And if, in spite of this, you do not obey me, but act with honesty towards me, I will act with fierce honesty towards you. I will also discipline you 7 times for your sins. You will eat the flesh of your sons. You will eat the flesh of your daughters. I will destroy your high places, cut down your shrines, and heap your lifeless body on the lifeless bodies of your idols. I will reject you. I will reduce your cities to ruins and devastate your sanctuaries. I will not smell the pleasing aroma of your sacrifices. I also will devastate the land so that your enemies who come to live there will be appalled by it. But I will scatter you among the nation, and I will draw a sword to chase after you, so your land will become desolate, and your cities will become ruins. Then the land will make up for its Sabbath years during the times it lies desolate, while you are in the land of your enemies. At the time the land will rest and make up for its Sabbaths. As long as it lies desolate, it will have the rested. Do not make during your Sabbaths when you live there. I will put anxiety in the hearts of those of you who survive in the land of their enemies. The sound of a wind-driven leaf will put them to flight, and they will flee as one flees from a sword, and fall through. No one is pursuing them, though no one is pursuing them. They will stumble over one another as a fleeing from a sword, though no one is pursuing them. You will not be able to stand against your enemies. You will perish among the nations. The land of your enemies will devour you. Those who survive in the land of your enemies will waste away because of their iniquity. They will also waste away because of their ancestors' iniquity, along with theirs. But when they confess their iniquity and the iniquity of their ancestors, their untruthfulness that they practiced against me, and how they acted with hostility towards me, and I acted with hostility toward them, and brought them into the land of their enemies. And when their uncircumcised hearts are humbled, and they make amends for their iniquity, then I will remember my covenant with Jacob. I will also remember my covenant with Isaac and my covenant with Abraham, and I will remember the land. For the land abandoned by them will make for its Sabbaths, by lying desolate without the people, while they make amends for their iniquity, because they reject my ordinances and abhorred my statuses. Yet, in spite of this, while they are in the land of their enemies, I'll not reject or abhor them, so as to destroy them and break my covenant with them. Since I am the Lord their God, for their sake I will remember the covenant with their ancestors, whom I brought out of the land of Egypt in the sight of the nation, to be their God. I am the Lord. These are the statutes, ordinances, and laws the Lord established between himself and the Israelites through Moses on Mount Sinai.
Leviticus 27. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and tell them, when someone makes a special vow to the Lord that involves the assessment of people, if the assessment concerns a male of 20 or 60 years old, your assessment is 50 silver shekels, measured by the standard sanitary shekel. If the person is a female, your assessment is 30 shekels. If the person is from 5 to 20 years, your assessment for a male is 20 shekels, and for a female is 10 shekels. If a person is from 1 month to 5 years old, your assessment for a male is 5 shekels, and for a female, your assessment is 3 shekels of silver. If the person is 60 years or more, your assessment is 15 shekels for a male and 10 shekels for a female. But if one is too poor to pay the assessment, he is to present the person before the priest, and the priest will set a value for him. The priest will set a value for him according to what the one making a vow can afford. If a vow involves one of the animals that may be brought as an offering to the Lord, any of these he gives to the Lord will be holy. He may not replace it or make a substitution for it, either good or bad for good. But if he does substitute one of the animals for another, both that animal and its substitute will be holy. If the vow involves any of the unclean animals that may not be brought as an offering to the Lord, the animal must be presented to the before the priest. The priest will set its value, whether high or low. The price will be set as the priest makes the assessment for you. If the one who brought it declined to redeem it, he must add a fifth of the assessed value. When a man considers his house as holy to the Lord, the priest will assess at its value, whether high or low. The priest will stand just as the price will stand just as the priest assesses it. But if the one who concentrates his house redeems it, he must add a fifth to the decided value, and it will be his. If a man considers to the Lord any part of a field that he possesses, your assessment of value will be proportional to the seed needed to sow it. At the rate of 50 silver shekels for every 6 bushel of barley seeds, if he concentrates his field during a year of Jubilee, the price will stand according to your assessment. But if he concentrates his field after the Jubilee, the priest will calculate the price for him, prospering to the years left until the next year of Jubilee, so that your assessment will be reached. If the one who considers that the field decides to redeem it, he must add a fifth to the assessed value, and the field will transfer back to him. But if he does not redeem the field, or if he has sold it to another man, it is no longer redeemable. When the field is released in the Jubilee, it will be holy to the Lord, like a field permanently set apart. It becomes the priest's property. If the person considers to the Lord a field he has purchased that is not part of his inherited land holding, then the priest will calculate for him the amount of the assessment up to the year of Jubilee, and the person will pay the assessed value on that day as the holy offering to the Lord. In the year of Jubilee, the field will return to the one who he bought it from. The original owner. All your assessed value will be measured by the standard secretary's shekels. The standard 20 gerahs to the shekels, but no one can consider a firstborn of the livestock, whether an animal from the herd or flock, to the Lord, because the firstborn already belongs to the Lord. If it is one unclean livestock, it can be removed according to your assessment by adding a fifth of its value to it. If it is not redeemed, it can be sold according to your assessment. Nothing that a man permanently set apart to the Lord from all his owning, whether a person, an animal, or his inherited land holding, can be sold or redeemed. Everything set apart is specially holy to the Lord. No person who has been set apart for duration is to be resumed. He must be put to death. Every tenth of the land products, grain from the oil, or fruit from the tree belongs to the Lord. It is holy to the Lord. If a man decides to redeem any of these tenths, he must add a fifth to its value. Every 10th animal from the herd or flock which passes under a shepherd's rod will be holy to the Lord. He is not to impact whether it is good or bad, and he is not to make a substitution for it. But if he does make a substitution, both the animal and the substitute will be holy. They cannot be redeemed. These are the commands the Lord gave Moses for the Israelites on Mount Sinai.